Hi, my name is Amelia, and I'll be presenting my analysis for Assessment 2. My focus is on the leadership and decision-making practices of Terence Gore, the General Manager of WS Electronics. Terence has over 6 years of experience leading WS Electronics, a Malaysian supplier of wire harness and connector components for industries. I've also attached his business card and LinkedIn profile in my slides for further background information. First, leadership behaviors in practice.
My overall style, I believe, is I focus a lot on KPI. I use data and performance as a guide to see what should we improve on and how do we achieve our goals. So, for example, I set quarterly targets or even monthly targets for my sales staff. At the same time, I also check in regularly and follow up with them to see what is their progress on. A very good example is during COVID. We can't actually meet face to face with our customers, but we actually try to make many cold calls through the phone. And from that, we actually got many positive result backs. So during hard times or difficult times, the only way we can motivate each other is to let our team know that we are in this thing together. It's equally important. They go hand in hand. You cannot just ignore motivation while just focusing KPI. So if I only focus on KPI, the team may feel very pressured. So if I only focus on motivation, we may lose track of results.
From my interviews, I found that Terence demonstrates a hybrid leadership style, combining transactional and transformational behaviors. On the transactional side, he uses monthly and quarterly KPIs to track performance. He follows up regularly and adjusts unrealistic targets, which keeps staff accountable while ensuring goals remain realistic. At the same time, he demonstrates transformational leadership. During COVID, when client visits weren't possible, he motivated his team by saying, "We're in this together," and encouraged them to reach out to clients by phone. This kept morale high despite challenging conditions. Overall, his leadership balances task orientation and people orientation, a mix that allows him to pursue results while also supporting employee well-being.
Even though I'm the general manager, I might not be right all the time. So what we usually do when there is a conflict, we raise out and then we do a voting system. In one project, my team and we had different opinions on which supplier to choose. So instead of making decision alone, I facilitated a discussion between my team members and everyone presented with pros and cons. So afterward, we voted. The majority chose the reliable supplier instead of the lower cost one. And this actually helped us to understand each of our team member more.
Terence also applies democratic leadership. When his team disagreed over which supplier to choose, he facilitated discussion and let the team vote, and the process gave everyone a sense of involvement. He even said, "Even as general manager, I might not always be right," showing humility and openness. This creates psychological safety, where employees feel safe to voice their perspectives. This reflects leader-member exchange theory, which highlights how involving employees build stronger leader-team relationships. Terence's leadership behaviors have clear and lasting effects on both individuals and the team as a whole. For individuals, his KPI system provides direction and accountability, but because he adjusts targets when they are unrealistic, employees avoid the demoralization that strict numbers can sometimes cause. At the same time, his empathy and encouragement, such as reminding them that they are in this together, support resilience and keep motivation high. For groups, his democratic approach creates ownership. In the supplier decision, the use of voting didn't just resolve conflict, it also built unity. Employees felt that their contributions mattered, which deepened the trust and cohesion within the team. Overall, the impact is twofold. Individuals become more engaged and responsible, while the group develops a collaborative and high-performing culture. Next, decision-making process.
Recently, I had to decide whether to delay a customer shipment due to a quality issue. So shipping on time would please the client or our customer, but if anything happened to the quality of goods, it would be a very bad reputation for our company. So what I did here is I consulted with my QA team and rated the impact and decided to delay by 2 days while fixing the issue. So I personally called the customer and explained the whole situation. They appreciated our honesty and the decision preserved our reputation long term. First is to find the root of cause. And what is the best solution and the fastest way that we can solve it. For example, when we had a repeated delays in delivery, at first we blamed the transporter or the vendor. After analyzing further, I discovered the real cause was inaccurate demand of forecasting, which caused last minute production changes. I prioritize on efficiency. The fastest that we can solve the problem is better for me. Why? It's because after you solve the problem, the operation resume. I will usually rely on data first. And after that, after gathering all the sufficient and evident of data, then I will ask across my team, what should we do with this? Then after that, we have a majority of agreement. Then we will execute that plan. Very important is to follow up. It's a daily thing that we are doing here. We can have many ideas, but if there's no follow up by management or your superior, there'll be no result. KPI, we can have many solutions, but depending on what type of solution that we have implemented, it all comes back to how fast we can get the result. So monitoring the results will ensure us to, in the future, we'll decide on what method to apply on this situation.
When it comes to decision making, Terence follows a structured 5-step process. Step 1, he defines the problem by finding the root cause. For example, he discovered that repeated delays were due to inaccurate forecasting rather than transport issues. Step 2, he generates alternatives by prioritizing efficiency, focusing on the fastest workable solution. Step 3, he evaluates options by using data first and then consulting his team for input. Step 4, he ensures decisions are implemented effectively through daily follow-ups. And lastly, step 5, he monitors outcomes using KPIs. In one high-stake case, he chose to delay a shipment by 2 days to fix a quality issue. Although it's risky, the client appreciated the honesty and the decision protected the company's long-term reputation.
I will say I quickly, my intuition experience throughout over the years helped me decide whether to make a decision on that matter. So in urgent cases, intuition is very important for me, but past experience do actually matter in this case. Not everyone think on the same perspective as you. But however, I believe big decisions benefit from multiple perspectives. For example, when deciding to invest in a new software system, such as an ERP system, I consulted both my operation people, finance people. Their feedback actually helped me to choose the best system to implement towards to our operation. However, end of the day, I'll be the one that takes responsibility wholly for the final decision.
He is primarily systematic, relying on data and structured processes, but in urgent situations, he turned into intuition built from years of experience to act quickly. He also applies participative decision making. For example, when selecting a new ERP system, he consulted both his finance and operations staff before making the final call. While the responsibility was ultimately his, he valued multiple perspectives to improve the quality of the decision. Next, his managerial advice for future leaders.
Listen more than you speak. Another way of saying it is empathy. So not everything is following by the book. In the working society, everyone try to grab an opportunity to speak up, but not many people learn how to listen. In my previous career, I have a managing director. He actually showed me by listening, you're actually gathering inputs from all your team members, your colleagues, and then end of the day, you make the decision yourself.
Terrence's key advice was listen more than you speak. At first, this seems simple, but he explained that many managers rush to talk in order to appear competent, when real leadership comes from listening first. He learned this from a former managing director who showed him that listening deeply to employees' input results in stronger decisions. This advice reflects both his experience and his leadership style. His democratic behaviors, like voting system and consultations, show that he doesn't lead by authority alone. He leads by listening. It also demonstrates empathy, as listening is an active way of showing respect, valuing contributions, and making better informed choices. Last but not least, I'll talk about my key learning and reflection. My key personal takeaway is that listening is the foundation of leadership. From Terrence, I saw that KPIs and systems are necessary for accountability, but without empathy and trust, they risk creating pressure rather than motivation. By listening and involving his team, Terrence turns accountability into engagement. Critically, I believe his hybrid style is effective because it balances short-term performance with long-term trust. For my own career, I plan to adopt a listen first, decide second approach, creating space for other perspectives, balancing data with empathy, and then taking responsibility for the final call. Ultimately, I've learned that effective leadership is less about authority and more about building relationships that allow both people and performance to grow together. Thank you.